Why is the Phantom disappearing from Valorant? Now, is it a little bit of an exaggeration? Maybe, but I think it's such an interesting topic because you guys already know, right? Valorant has two major rifles in the game, the Phantom and the Vandal. The Phantom vs. Vandal isn't some sort of new story. Phantom vs. Vandal dates way back to the very start of the game. Right when it launched in 2020, everyone started swearing by one gun or the other. Now, looking at the cost, both rifles are the exact same, 2,900 credits. So one of the first differences is the bullet count. While the Phantom has 30 bullets per clip, Vandal only has 25. Same thing with the fire rate and the recoil, where the Phantom again is a little bit better than the Vandal with the higher rate of fire overall and arguably better control and recoil. Now, of course, gun control in Valorant isn't that fluent, but the Phantom's still easier to spray, that's just a fact. Now, the Vandal, on the other hand, is clunky to spray, and the chances of whiffing are a lot higher, especially after the first 8 bullets. Sooner or later, you'll be shooting at the moon. Also, forget about spray transfers while you're at it, because pulling it off is possible, but not that great. Side-by-side comparisons should be on screen just to prove a point. Now, as you can see, the Vandal has a lot more vertical recoil and the spread compared to the Phantom, which is more tighter and again, easier. Not easy, but easier. And that's not all. Phantom has no bullet tracers. If you don't know already, bullet tracers are a thing in Valorant, and you might have noticed them already when someone is shooting at you through a smoke or tries to wallbang you through a wall. Phantom, however, doesn't have those whatsoever, making it harder to track your position while you're spraying down through a smoke, trying to get that lucky headshot on the enemy team that tries to push you. That, coupled with the Phantom's increased fire rate and clip size, makes it very effective for defensive plays. Someone like Tens, who massively prefers the Vandal over the Phantom, tweeted about this earlier, saying the Phantom bullet count should be reduced simply because people spam entire 30 bullet clips to get those lucky kills. Since Valorant is really focused on making the gunplay as precise, I mean, you know, in quotations, as precise as possible, moving while shooting makes guns highly inaccurate. Cue the countless running headshot clips. But there as well, the Phantom has a much less penalty for moving while shooting. Now calm down. We're not telling you to buy a Phantom and start running like a madman, but at close range it might just work out. I mean, let's be honest, go to the comments, please let me know your running gun stories because I know they exist. Just looking at this, the Phantom might seem like a clear winner because right now I'm literally freaking hyping up the Phantom like crazy, but with all that being said, the Phantom, even though it does 156 damage to the head and 39 to the body, we all know that's only at close range. And it's that damage fall off at longer ranges that kind of define the fact that the Phantom is falling in popularity. Its damage is reduced to 140 damage to the head and 35 to the body at 30 meters or more. And 30 meters is generally the distance at what most of the initial gunfights actually take place. That's not it though. The damage is even further reduced to a measly 124 to the head and 26 to the body at 50 meters and above. But it's that 140 that really makes the difference. Vandal, on the other hand, does not have this. You're going to be dinking no matter the range, no matter the time, as long as you're hitting that shot. Now, going back to the early days of Valorant, players gravitated towards the Phantom because it was easier to control. We can see this in an Optic IGL tweet way back when, and it makes sense, especially since the port game was from CSGO, where spraying was just something a lot of people built naturally. But it wasn't just back then, because even if we go to Valorant's Champion Tour in Berlin, Asuna dropped some of the best kills with a Phantom against Ascent. And you can see this with the Breeze match clip, which ended up in one of the finest comebacks ever in pro Valorant scene, where 100 Thieves managed to come back at a 7-12 score and win with 14-12. Complete 180 turn. Fast forward to a year later, the pick rates in this year's VCT Istanbul tell an entirely different story, with the Vandal being a clear winner with a 44.52% pick rate compared to the Phantom's measly 15.19%. But what about the casuals like you and me? Pro play is one thing, but you and I are an entirely different league below them. in a trash can. But either way, rank-wise, weapon pick rates are as what you should actually expect. Starting at Iron, the weapon pick rate between the Phantom and Vandal is nearly 50-50. New players who aren't used to either gun will probably just swap between them quite frequently. However, moving up in rank, the Bronze and Silver players tend to pick the Phantom more simply because of the easier control spray patterns. The graph reaches almost 50-50 again at Gold because some decide to switch over to the Vandal as their aim begins to improve. It's when we reach the higher ranks where the scale really starts to tip heavily in favor of the Vandal. The reason for this is simple. As you have more and more hours, you become cracked enough to get those one-hit headshots. Even if you're boosted like me, even if you're a boosted player like myself, once you hit the 140 dink on the Phantom, you kind of switch and don't go back. So why exactly is the Phantom seemingly disappearing from Valorant now? It all comes down to damage once again. Whether it's the pros or the higher rank, it's important to be able to deal the maximum amount of damage possible. Also, firing the Vandal in short bursts rather than spraying allows for much more controls, including those beautiful and very popular counter-strafe mechanics. In the pro scene, where every peek and every shot counts, it's significant that every headshot is a kill because time is of the essence, and the fastest kill time in the end will be swinging and dinking. And I think that time to kill being at the shortest amount of time in the highest rank of play is kind of a natural thing if you think about it. This doesn't mean that pros have completely stopped using the Phantom. Every now and then you'll see someone using the Phantom. There are players like Scream who actually use both the Phantom and Vandal equally, which is kind of funny because he's known for his crisp one-taps, but it just depends. How are you feeling? Are you playing smokes? If you're gonna pop a Reyna ult on defense, the Phantom might just be better. Another possible reason why people might prefer or now prefer with muscle memory to use the Vandal could be skins. Hear me out for a second, because some of the biggest, best-selling, most fan-favorite skins include stuff like Reaver, Elderflame, and RGX, all that came out early in the life cycle, especially Reaver, that only had a Vandal until Riot later rolled out the Phantom variants. I do wonder how many people maybe I mean, think of the Prime. The Prime was the first premium bundle, and what did it have? A Vandal. Is there something to be said about early huge skins dropping being mainly the Vandal that gravitated players? Maybe not. I mean, a lot of us waited a while for Oni to drop for the Phantom skin. I remember being one of those early adapters, and I think I kind of used the Vandal early on because of skins, but I'm probably in the minority. Now, I've just rambled for a while, and the biggest question now is, what if I'm a Phantom main? Should I switch? I mean, 15% of pros using the Phantom? Damn, am I doing something wrong? Am I holding myself back? Well, it all comes down to your playstyle. This is more so a talking point. This is a fun video to make, but for someone who is more used to a spray gun, then the Phantom might just be for you. For the cracked aimers out there, switching to the Vandal would definitely be better. That just makes a lot of sense. Also, depending on the characters you main, it might become massively different. Controllers, for example, can benefit from the Phantom as they're much more likely to be spraying through smokes or, you know, holding those off angles when a lot of people have the back towards you. You can also prefer to use one over the other depending on which map you're playing on, which is very well known. Maps with longer engagement ranges are gonna be preferable with the Vandal. Like if you're running Phantom on Breeze, I just don't know what to tell you. That shit's gonna be very frustrating at times. But besides all that, it does kind of look at current trends that the Phantom is becoming less and less popular. And the next thing is, would they buff it? Should they buff the Phantom? I mean, it has a lot of benefits over the Vandal. Vandal literally only has its damage. Now, more than likely, the Phantom is fine where it's at. I don't see them changing much, but would they make it a little tighter? Would they make a recoil pattern that is stable? But with all that being said, looking at current trends, the Phantom is literally still phasing out of popularity, especially in the high ranks. The Vandal keeps growing while the Phantom is diminishing. Now, should Riot buff the Phantom? No, probably not, but let's be honest, it's a fun talking point. Like, imagine if they remove the RNG spray only from the Phantom. Imagine if they increase the rate of fire from the Phantom. Now, should they be doing that? Probably not, though anything is possible. However, for now, if you want to follow in the footsteps of the pro players, cop that Vandal and one tap away.